The recent Florida earthquakes are not far from a volcano in Jackson, Mississippi, and not far from the Asphalt volcanoes of the Gulf of Mexico. Here we are in Google Earth, and we have the Jackson Coliseum, this beautiful rotunda, and if we take a look at it, we'll be surprised that it sits right on top of the Jackson volcano in Mississippi. As you can see here, it's like a column, it rises towards a column, and here we have the geography of it in feet. This is 20,000, 16,000, and the formations throughout the ages. And this is the Colosseum, right on top of the column. This is it. Now, how on earth did they get the okay, the authority, the permission to build the Colosseum on top of this? Is just unreal. I can't believe this happened. Now, the Jackson volcano is an extinct volcano. It's said to be from the Bermuda Rise. Anyway, let's go back to Google Earth and pan out so you can see. Unbelievable. This is, I mean, when you look at the area, it looks totally flat. It looks totally serene and calm, tranquil. Little rivers passing by, little lakes. And you would never guess that there's a volcano sitting under it, but there is. And it's about, this is where we had the recent Florida quakes, Flomaton and J, and it's about, if you measure it, it's about 100 and something miles. Let's see. It's about 180 miles from those quakes. And well, from what we saw before in our video, you'll see we had a tremendous number of, is this it? No. We had a tremendous number of, that's Idaho, sorry. We had a tremendous number of fault lines in this whole area of Florida, even though you have reports saying, or even geologists coming out and saying, oh, Florida does not have earthquakes, it's not on a tectonic edge, and it doesn't have earthquakes, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not so. Florida is filled with fault lines crisscrossing each other. You'll check from my past video, a couple of videos ago. And this thing here is a crack. This canyon is a crack going all the way this way. And you can see that this is where basically rivers flow out. And usually you have rivers following fault lines because they're low-lying. The rivers go towards the lowest areas to flow into other bodies of water. And look at this thing. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is going out. And you have it here. You have these here as well. Now, this here is the Dorsey Canyon is full of asphalt volcanoes. Asphalt being, of course, basically tar. And there's a lot of crude oil under here, as we know, in the Gulf of Mexico. And these are asphalt volcanoes. And they're volcanoes. Now, we'll do another video on the geology of the Gulf of Mexico, which some say is a supervolcano. And we'll see what that is. Others say it was an impact crater from a huge asteroid. That's why it has this type of a configuration. Others say, no, it's a supervolcano. Well, we know that all of this thing here is volcanic areas. We have the Colima and the Popocatépetl volcano of Mexico. We have the Ecuadorian volcanoes, Guatemala, that have been erupting recently, and tremendous earthquakes there. And here we have a trench trench here, and Bermuda was a hotspot over which the Jackson volcano was. And it went tick, 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 and it's there. Can you imagine how the Earth expanded? Look at all these. These are seamounts here as well. These seamounts are off Maine, off the eastern seaboard, which is Maine. One of my past videos we did there. Maine is fascinating because they found lava. They found lava from the main volcano eruption all the way in Europe and all the way to Mexico. That's how huge that eruption was. Well, maybe it could be that even though Jackson was at one time over Bermuda, if Jackson was at one time over Bermuda, that means it was a lot closer there. That means that Maine was a lot closer to Europe as well. Maybe Maine was over here, so it wasn't that far off. It's just a tremendous amount of expansion of the earth, or growing of the earth. Where is all this material coming from? Well, a lot of people say something has to be done with lately found neutrinos coming out of the South Pole. Look at this huge crack. Look at this huge crack. Where's the ice on the north? There's no ice. The ice is only over Greenland. Anyway, look at that. That's a crack going all the way mid-Atlantic trench. And the neutrinos were found to be coming out of the Earth over Antarctica. So we're finding fascinating things every few weeks, every few months. We're finding, oh, sorry. What am I doing? Okay. Let's go back to Jackson so we don't get off on a tangent. Because we were talking about the Florida earthquakes, which has started recently. And then there was another sonic shaking here. I don't know what to call it. The residents thought it was, the locals thought it was an earthquake because their houses were shaking for 2 minutes. The USGS found that it was not an earthquake. It must have been something atmospheric. So it could have been I don't know what to say. We have so many advanced technologies today that I would venture today is to say there's something more advanced, like an EMP or a frequency that we don't know of, that was somehow affected the houses shaking and rumbling for 2 minutes. Can you imagine? Now, going towards the quakes, you do have the deep sea, the offshore drilling here because of the tremendous amount of oil that's to be found there. And of course you have the Aspahlt volcanoes. Here are some of them. This whole thing is full of Aspahlt volcanoes. And we have the problem with this is Louisiana, but the letters are in Greek because I live in Greece. Yeah, it's not Russian, so please don't go off the handle. Thank you. So Louisiana has sinkhole problems. You know, you have a lot of expansion. The earth is cracking up in various places. We saw that it was cracking up in one of the places was for a couple of years ago. I think two years ago was the big story, was in Yellowstone was cracking up. But it's cracking up all over the world. They're cracking up. We have the rift valleys, for example, in Africa that's cracking up, the African Rift Valley, and other areas as well. And at one point, here it is, right here. This is where it's cracking up, and it's from what we saw, it's the area right here. That's the Rift Valley, and if that cracks up and splits off, that's the end of the Nile River. That's the end of the Nile River. That's a very sad situation. Okay, so yeah, the earth is cracking, and we have found that earthquakes are essential. Volcanoes are essential because they also help with giving us heat in our atmosphere. If they weren't around, we would be a frozen planet. And earthquakes also take in carbon dioxide. Besides giving off carbon dioxide, that's one way you know that there's an earthquake coming, but they also swallow up carbon dioxide, cleaning up our atmosphere. But there's a lot of work that geology does that we're not aware of. These living things of earthquakes and volcanoes. So Florida has all these. Now let's go back to our Jacksonville thing. Our Jacksonville volcano, extinct volcano. It says 3,000 feet. Well, that's the tip of it. The tip of it is 3,000 feet down on a city of Jacksonville, Mississippi, which has the Coliseum right on top of it. And the uplifting terrain around the volcano forms a Jackson Dome, an area of dense rock clearly noticeable in local gravity measurements. Hilgard published the theory of an anticline beneath Jackson in 1860 due to his observations of the surface strata. The dome contains relatively pure carbon dioxide, which is used in oil production in Gulf Coast oil fields. The dome contains pure carbon dioxide. The noble gas data suggests mantle origins with a date of 70 million years of the Jackson Dome intrusion. So pure carbon dioxide, amazing. The Jackson Dome intrusion, geologists have evidence of repeated uplifts accompanied by dike intrusions. Dike intrusions are mantle intrusions in the areas that are faulted, that are cracked, and the mantle comes into that area of the crack. That's the dike intrusion. And volcanic extrusions, erosion, sedimentation, with one coral reef having developed during the submergence. Much of the oil at the crest of the dome volatilized during a late uplift, but oil production wells numbered over 100 in 1934. Jackson volcano is believed to have been extinct for at least 66 million years. A hypothesis states that the Jackson volcano and related igneous activity in Mississippi were a result of the North American plate's passage over the Bermuda hotspot 66 million years ago. Alternatively, the volcanism may have been part of worldwide eruptive driven by superplumes, similar to the conditions that created the Deccan tramps and the Siberia traps. The volcano is one of 4 inside cities in the United States. The other is Diamond Head in Honolulu, Hawaii, Pilot Butte in Bend, Oregon, and Mount Tabor in Portland, Oregon, being the others. This volcano was discovered in 1819. Even though the Jackson volcano has been extinct for millions of years, it's still creating lasting effects on Mississippi landscape. For instance, there have been theories about the alligator pond in Leroy Mercy State Park, and its year-round temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit is because of the Jackson volcano. The majority of the Jackson volcano sits underneath Mississippi Coliseum, as we see here. You can't see the volcano, but massive amounts of carbon dioxide bottled underneath is entertainment venue proof its existence. It's a constant reminder of what used to be from days long ago. I still have a question, why did they build a Coliseum on it? And as we said, Jackson volcano, the tip of it is 2,900 feet beneath the Jackson, Mississippi Coliseum. The uplift terrain around the volcano forms the Jackson Dome, the area of dense rock clearly noticeable in local gravity measurements. So all this is what we just read on this thing here. They took from Wikipedia, obviously. And the geology is western interior seaway extending present-day Mississippi for Mississippi embayment. Well, we're not going to get into that. If you want, you can read it yourself. The Gulf of Mexico basin starting with the Prairie Creek Lamproite, and the west, the Magnet Cove and Granite Mountain. uplift in its midnight volcano, and finally Jackson Dome. As we said, the Jackson intrusion metamorphosed the Cotton Valley Formation and deformed it into a dome structure. The Tuscaloosa consists of ash and tuft at the dome and eroded igneous rock away from the dome, and volcanic material also found in the overlying Utah Formation. Subsidence and sea level rise resulted in the deposition of chalk and limestone of the Selma group. Natural gas accumulated in the Selma gas rock limestone underlying Claytonite limestone, and the structure was noticed by Hopkins in 1917, and a successful gas well was drilled in 1930, but the field was nearly exhausted by 1939. So that's the story with these quakes in Florida. They're sitting in between live asphalt volcanoes. They're sitting on fault lines, and Florida, yes, is filled with fault lines. And of course you can have earthquakes because it's crisscrossed. It's crisscrossed with fault lines on land and off land on the coast. And you have a trench right here, very close to it. This is a huge trench. So, Aspahlt Volcano. These are the Aspahlt Volcanoes. The Submarine volcano discovered first in 2003. Several examples found along the coast of the United States and Mexico, and then in other regions of the world. A few are still active. They resemble sea-mounted structure. They're made entirely of asphalt and form when natural oil seeps up from the earth crust underwater. So this is something very recently found, 2003. They were discovered in the Gulf of Mexico during an expedition of the research vessel Sona, led by Graham Borman, and these volcanoes previously unknown. Highly diverse ecosystem at the water's depth of 3,000 meters was discovered. The first Aspahlt volcanoes discovered 2003 in the Gulf of Mexico, located on the seafloor, named Chapapote Nahuatl for tar. The site located in the fields of salt domes known as Camp Peak Knolls, a series of steep hills formed from salt bodies that rise from underlying rock and the common feature in the Gulf. The research team documented tar flows as wide as, 66 feet across. Also discovered alongside the asphalt were areas soaked with petroleum and methane hydrate, also spewed from the volcano. This kind of environment proves attractive to chemical-loving bacteria and tube worms. And these are some of the pictures, and amongst them this Aspahlt volcano. Another one here. And these were, as we said, recently found. And here they are, in the Gulf of Mexico. They're all over the place there, under the salt domes. They are the tar, the asphalt volcanoes, and they're still active. Okay, so that's my take on it. Of course, Florida has earthquakes, and Florida is very close to a trench, and it's not at all far from active volcanoes and earthquake areas. And we'll see if this is, what exactly this is, a supervolcano or an asteroid impact. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.